Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup, and of course got the boxing and MMA news today. If you're new around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like video, and let's get straight into it. So, starting off with the boxing as always. So Bridges versus Matty is reportedly off. Charlo has vacated his IBF title. Radovan will fight Mikhailovic December 16th. Whitaker versus Dredtage. Price versus Bordeaux, McKinson, Edmondson versus Fadas, and Hennessy will fight December 10th. GBM Sports have partnered with Advant Water. Denny is set to fight Cash. Fury is in talks to fight Jones Jr. That's a strange fight. Nobody wants or nobody cares to see that fight. Obviously, not to take away, Jones Jr. is a legend of the sport, but he's way past it now and shouldn't be fighting. And I mean, he's coming off a very poor performance himself against Anthony Pettis, and so there's no reason for him to fight Tommy Fury. And Tommy Fury at this point, if he's going to fight that fight, then I'm not classing him as a professional boxer anymore, in my opinion, as he's just not. He's just looking for paydays now and doesn't seem to care, because I think he knows deep down that he's not at the level of a world championship that what his brother is. And so yeah, I don't think he wants or craves that kind of attention as a professional boxer anymore. Fundora is set to fight Bonanchuk. Zhu is set to fight in March. Orozco has tested positive for a banned substance. That's quite funny. He of course fought Conor Benn. Now to see him testing positive for a banned substance when that was against Ben's return, who's also tested positive for a banned substance, is quite ironic. But I mean, he's I think been banned for a little bit now, or Kozo. Orozco. Goodman is set to fight Lou at December 15th. Good to see Goodman being active. Of course, we had him on the channel a little while ago. Balanga is set to fight McCrory January 13th. Lowe will fight Rodrigo December 1st. Matchroom is set to have a show in Japan January 20th. The Day of Reckoning card will be on DAZN. Sheeran has called out Capaldi. That's an interesting one. I mean, and you never know. I thought I'd put it in here because you never know. But it was quite nice to see Ed Sheeran at a boxing event, to be completely honest. Truella won via unanimous decision versus Walton. Fawcett won via unanimous decision versus Martin. Kareen won via unanimous decision versus Amelia. Glebes won via KO in round 5 versus Anuj. Groch won via KO in round 2 versus Tarliva. Pavlides won via unanimous decision versus Fatih. Hardman won via TK in round 5 versus Coleman to become WBO Intercontinental Middleweight Champion. Zhu won via TK in round 5 versus Biggs to remain Australian Super Welterweight Champion. Fair play to Zhu, that was a tough fight for him. I mean, he managed to dismantle Biggs and did it very well, but I mean, of course, Zhu got knocked down himself in the early round. I think it was the first round, and managed to come back from it. And fights like that early on in careers are kind of just what fighters need to go through an opponent and even just get knocked down to face that adversity. And maybe it shows weaknesses in his chin, but at the same time you want to see that not the weakness in the chin, but you want to see him having these challenges to show that he can get through them and still get good stoppages as he did. He weathered the storm relatively well. I mean, he didn't really look overly hurt after the knockdown, and he weathered that kind of onrush after the knockdown and then managed to get his own convincing stoppage, so fair play to him. Hickford won via points versus Charles. Adams won via points versus Fourier. Ali won via points versus Mosquero. O'Hara won via points versus Navarro. Fale won via TK in round 2 versus Stoyanov. Williams won via TK in round 1 versus Cardos. Turner won via unanimous decision versus Allington to remain WBC International Silver Super Lightweight Champion. Chamberlain won via TK in round 10 versus Ramlaws to remain IBF European Lightweight Champion. That was another good fight. Chamberlain, he also faced a bit of, maybe not adversity, but he had to go for a tough opponent there, and opponents are going to be coming in like that who don't really have too much to lose coming into it. A lot of the times you see them being some of the toughest tests, and this was no different, and it was a good performance. So I really liked how he put together his shots, especially that of straight shots in close, which is a very difficult thing to be able to do, and with impressive hand speed in the process as well, and just to be relatively relentless throughout all of it, even when he was facing onslaughts or facing big shots himself. And Obviously, defensively, there's a few things there, but attacking wise, I was a big fan, and the stoppage in the end was a good stoppage. And against an opponent like that, who I mentioned's got nothing to lose and is going to be incredibly tough, to get a stoppage against them is impressive. And so, yeah, a good performance from him, and hopefully now he can progress on to something, maybe a different title now, and a bit more of maybe a bigger name up fight now. Moving on, Chalmers won via unanimous decision versus Spencer. Lacau won via unanimous decision versus Ivakovic. Coop won via unanimous decision versus Sebki. Borduza won via unanimous decision versus Cantos. Ubali won via unanimous decision versus Chapelle. Lafayette won via majority decision versus Gallagher to remain WBO World Super Bantamweight Champion. If I'm being completely honest, I haven't managed to watch this. I can't seem to find a tape of it anywhere, but congrats to Lafayette, of course. She's retained the title again. I got the prediction wrong for it. Gallagher, it's a big step up for her, and I'm sure she'll be back again, but like I said, it's a big step up, and Lefebvre yet again defying my prediction, my odds, and getting the victory and proving again why she is a top level fighter, and hopefully now will go to a more undisputed type route, and that seemingly is what she wants to do. Olia won via unanimous decision versus Vukshinaj to remain IBO World Middleweight Champion. Got that one wrong. Fair play to Aliha. He looked solid. His attack was good. He was just too much for Vukshinaj, and there was times where he was quite brutally attacking him, and there was attacks which maybe I thought he could have got him out of there. But to be fair, what he was doing, he was going in with these quite violent, aggressive attacks where maybe it looked like he wasn't really going in with much defensive control, but every time that there seemed to be a shot returning, he kind of knew when that was going to happen and had the good enough reactions to put his hands in the way and keep his hands high, and put them back high when needed, and that was nice to see. And he still looked relatively sharp throughout and was just a physically bigger guy and managed to get the victory through that way. And like every fight, I want to see them next progress on to big fights, and hopefully now a ranked opponent will be a nice fight for Aliha. Moving on, so Visoli won via TK in round 1 versus Sibley. Carty won via TK in round 8 versus Garber. Brennan won via TK in round 8 versus Morrissey to become Celtic Light Heavyweight Champion. Barrett won via points versus Ione. Cooney won via TK in round 1 versus Gaynor to become Celtic Super Featherweight Champion. Congrats to Cooney. Very good stoppage on the big stage. Of course, we came on the channel a little while ago now. But on the big stage, getting a big stoppage, and that's just going to be exactly what you want to be the case. And even against the odds and the pressure, with being on a big stage for the first time, he managed to deliver and did so very impressively. Nicholson won via TK in round 9 versus Wildheart to remain WBC Interim World Featherweight Champion. I got that one wrong, to be completely honest. I said that Wildheart would win. I mean, commiserations to her. We had her on a channel a little while ago, but commiserations to her. She didn't, but to be fair, Nicholson boxed well. She kept the range relatively well. She landed some big shots. She was a bit more accurate than what in times she was. She smothered a bit less of her work. And so, yeah, fair play. And to get the stoppage as well against somebody like Wildheart is impressive, because Wildheart's an incredibly tough opponent. And, yeah, like I said, fair play. Donovan won via TK in round 4 versus Bull. That's a fight I wanted to mention. Great performance from Donovan. Really, really technically gifted performance. Great movement, and just looked against a very tough opponent in Bull, and one that's proved himself at that of a domestic level, just outclassed him. And so he's going to have to be moving along very nicely now, Donovan. Cully won by split decision versus Mould. Close fight for Cully. Good to see Cully getting a split decision though. People are saying, obviously with most fights when it's a close decision, people are saying both ways. There's arguments for both ways being a winner, but it's nice to see Cully getting the decision and in a close fight as well, to see him get through that and kind of rewrite the demons of what was that last fight. I'm sure he's going to gain a lot of confidence from that, even though it maybe wasn't the stoppage that he was desiring. Moving on, Taylor won via majority decision versus Cameron to become IBF, IBO, WBA, WBC and WBO World Super Lightweight Champion. Taylor, Cameron, another great fight. I feel like there's certain fights in boxing world and certain fights that you see that just make for great fights and make every time that you put them together you just know it's going to be a great fight, and this yet again was no difference, and it was another close fight. I think Taylor did box better than she did in the first fight and didn't let Cameron quite get onto her as much, and even when she did, Cameron kind of smothered it a bit because I think that was maybe more Taylor's game plan. She was moving better. She still had the fast hands, which I said could have been a problem. And I mean, I got the prediction wrong for it, but fair play to her. Taylor, obviously, people are saying that Cameron should have won that. The knockdown was a bit questionable. I think that probably was a knockdown and probably should have been scored one. A 10-8 round possibly could have done something, but in my opinion, or from what I heard from the judges' scorecards anyway, I don't think it would have made a difference. From the way they saw it, but like I mentioned, certain fights in the boxing world, they just make for great fights and great matchups, and you could see that fight 10 times and every time it just to be a great fight, and I'm sure we'll see it again for a trilogy, most probably be at Croke Park, I believe that's what it's called, in Ireland. Shame that Cameron's not really getting a fight that's in England, and maybe she has a bit more of a fan base for her, but fair play to her for taking that. She always knew the risks that come with that, and she didn't get the nod this time, but it was another close fight, and like I mentioned, the trilogy is most likely going to be happening. Moving on, Medina won via majority decision versus Holy. Mercado won via unanimous decision versus Rivers. Moten won via KO in round 1 versus Turbifil. Another very impressive stoppage by Moten, progressing very nicely now, and 2-0 and 2 big stoppages, and he's got a definitely bright future, and he's got a lot of momentum and a lot of pressure behind him now as well. Cholet won via split decision versus Perez. Blancas won via unanimous decision versus Santana. Miliniki Jr. won via TKO in round 1 versus Flores. Yakubov won via unanimous decision versus Vincente. Charlo won via unanimous decision versus Benavides Jr. It was an alright performance from Charlo. It wasn't amazing. He had a good jab. He used that well. It was quite a strong jab, but Benavides Jr. didn't really. I mean, he tried to slug it out a bit, and Charlo got into a bit of a slugfest at times, but I mean, it wasn't an overly impressive performance. I mean, I got the prediction for this bang on. I said unanimous decision, and it was. And like I mentioned, it wasn't an amazing performance, but against a tough opponent. And I mean, people are saying him versus Plant should be next. I think that would be a good fight. And it'd be a tough one to say who could win, and most probably that will end up happening next. Rivera won via unanimous decision versus Lipinets. A solid performance from Rivera. He didn't really do loads. I mean, he landed a few big overhand rights, powerful shots. Lipinets probably is past his peak now, but Rivera, I think he needed that fight, to be honest. Bit strange the whole Ali thing that they're going with Rivera. I don't know if that should really be the thing, but either way, Rivera winning ways and solid enough victory. Matias won via stoppage in round 6 versus Ergashev to remain IBF World Super Lightweight Champion. Great performance from Matias. Ergashev came on strong. Matias weathered that storm, and it's just so powerful. His boxing technique and style with it is just different and impressive as well, and he's going to be a real problem, and I don't think many people are going to be taking fights against him. And of course, he's been stopping everybody recently, and yeah, he's a tough guy, and probably had arguably one of the best performances on this card of the week, bar possibly the next person we're about to talk about being Benavides, won via stoppage in round 6 versus Andre to remain WBC interim world super middleweight champion. That was another good performance. Andre came on strong early on. I said that would be the case. He was outworking him in earlier rounds, but when the switch flicks, Benavides, he can do that, and he's just so impressive. And when he switches that flick, you know what I mean? He's just so impressive, and really starts turning it on, and he has immense power himself as well. And to be able to stop someone like Andre made a big statement, and was very impressive in the process, and that has to make for the Canelo fight now, and everybody's calling for it, and he definitely deserves it now, and hopefully that will be the case, because that will make for a monster fight. And then the final bit of news, like I mentioned, Taylor vs Cameron is set for a trilogy in Ireland. And then moving on to the MMA news, not too much this week, no UFC card, only a little bit. So PFL have bought Bellator MMA. That's quite a big bit of news. Another big organisation to not go down, but just to merge with another company. Paul and Ngannou are set to fight in the PFL in 2024. Hooker versus Green is off. Prohaska has called out Chimaev, kind of welcoming into the light heavyweight division. Hermansson will fight Pfeiffer February 10th, and Volkanovski will fight Topera February 17th, now confirming the date for that fight. And yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you need, like this, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.